degrees off course. And air traffic control in Boston asked us what our intentions were. I said, well, as soon as we figure out what it is, we'll let you know. And so we all looked to the left at that time, and there was this very bright, very brilliant light object off to the left of the aircraft. It's hard to determine not just how far away it was or anything at night, but it did disrupt all three compasses on the aircraft, and this is what the concern was. Normally that doesn't happen. So the first officer looked at this object, and the flight engineer got out of his seat and looked out the window behind me and saw it. And we turned the autopilot off and proceeded to go back on course towards Albany. I asked air traffic control if they had any objects showing on their radar off the left wing, and their answer was negative. They didn't have any. So thinking it all over, we decided not to say anything about it until later on because of the time delay and everything. We had a quick turnaround, and we were going to go back the next day. So it was some time before I got to talk to you about this and write the report.
Could you describe something about the compasses?
Well, the thing that what got my attention was the fact that all three compasses were showing different readings on it. And so there was a magnetic force involved in this incident that affected the autopilot and made the aircraft turn off course. The aircraft flying on the first officer's autopilot on heading mode, when this influence, whatever it was, hit it and the airplane turned into a 20-degree bank, the autopilot should have disengaged, but it didn't until he pushed the button and disengaged the autopilot himself, and then returned back on course again. After we got back going again and got headed toward Albany and back on autopilot where everything functioned normally, I watched the aircraft, or whatever this object was, disappear back towards the 8 o'clock position. And then all of a sudden it picked up speed, and zip, it was gone, just like that. And that was the brief incident, but there was something there that I didn't really understand.
I'd like to comment briefly on Captain Daniels' sighting, because I think that there's something really quite important there in terms of the electromagnetic energy that was present. And it has to do with the deviation of the two gyro compasses. Now, it's one thing for a magnetic compass to swing or to deviate and hold a new position because of a new magnetic field. It's quite another thing for a gyro compass to do this, or to continue rotating. And it suggests that there is an inertial field, not a magnetic field effect here, a change in the inertial field at the airplane. Well, now, from a physics point of view, this cannot be explained. We don't know how to do that. But we may be on the verge or on the edge of an understanding here of new physics, a new understanding of how energy may be manipulated. Maybe not created, I'm not suggesting that, but at least manipulated to control or affect the inertial field at the airplane in this case. And so what I'm looking for are the thumbprints, or the unique signatures of UFO in the energy domain, in the areas that would set it apart from natural phenomenon. Just as you and I have natural, individual differences, that we have different thumbprints, for instance, or voice prints, or the retinas or the irises of our eyes are all different to make us unique. I suggest that we can learn something about the UFO phenomenon in the same way, by looking at what they have in common and what they have making them unique from each other. Here's a very interesting case involving an L-1011 commercial aircraft flying from San Francisco to JFK on July 4th, 1981. It had a full crew on board, obviously, and a lot of passengers in the back. It was about 4:45 in the afternoon, They were at 37,000 feet altitude over Lake Michigan. And they had just left Minneapolis Control, clear sunny day, and Captain Schultz, who is a Korean War combat pilot veteran, by the way, was just relaxing, looking outside, looking for other traffic, as he should. And he noticed something caught his eye, approximately 30 degrees left and 30 degrees high. And so he leaned forward a little bit in order to see it better, because he thought it might be another aircraft approaching on a collision course. Well, much to his surprise, as he's pointing it out to his first officer, by the way, what they both see is a round, kind of a disc-shaped metallic object with no markings, no seams, but 6 evenly spaced black circles along its edge, its circumference. Well, the airplane is flying approximately Mach 0.82, approximately, about 470 knots ground speed, or true, I should say, true. And the object descends to his altitude from above and does a very high-speed turn and then goes away towards Canada, in the direction of Canada, leaving a wavy smoke trail behind it. I met the captain in San Francisco Airport and took some equipment along, and we recreated that event with the aircraft on the ground, of course. And I had him sit exactly where he sat. I had him take a grease pencil and mark up some plastic that we put over the windows. And in doing all that, we were able to reconstruct the flight path of the object relative to the airplane. Now, why can we do that? Because the autopilot was on at all times maintaining straight and level flight, so that the motions of the UFO were relative to the cockpit outline, the windows, for instance. Well, what did we find? We found that the UFO, whatever it was, approached at approximately 1,000 miles an hour. It did a very high-speed turn, approximately 20 Gs at least, and then went away from the aircraft at about 1,000 miles an hour in a climb. Well, we don't know of any other aircraft that can do that and end up looking like an oblate spheroid. I looked up sun angle, and the solar reflections were consistent with a three-dimensional, large reflecting object. The captain told me that at the time that the object was closest to his aircraft, he felt a shock wave, a slight shudder, if you will. It was a very interesting case. He got right on the radio, as he should, and radioed Minneapolis, and do you have any traffic up near us? And they said, no, we do not. He has never seen anything before. He has never seen anything since, and he's turned into a believer. That this man who, before this happened, told me that he just didn't believe these things could exist. Now he does. And I said, Captain, about how big was the object? He said it was like a baseball stadium. It would hold 50,000 people.
Picture the brightest, shiniest silver that you've ever seen, and multiply that 100 times. So you try to get how shiny this object is. I can see where these things could be coming down every day, and nobody would ever see them. Because if I hadn't been looking at that one particular spot in the sky, I would never know it had been there. It was that fast. And this is, as I said, the shiniest metal I've ever seen in my life.
He made another interesting statement, which I will recount here. He said that when it first appeared, it impressed him as if it was breaking through the atmosphere, like splitting the blue sky open in order to emerge. And I find that very interesting. It raises some very interesting and fundamental questions. Air resistance, energy, shock wave, and so forth, propulsion. Fundamental questions that science should take a look at. So, in conclusion, that's a great case, a credible witness, two witnesses actually, professional pilots up front. There was no electromagnetic effects. The compasses did not deviate in this case.